Hi, I'm Patti Bell. I work for the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region. I'm in workforce development, and I help manage a program called Dream It, Do It, Southeast Texas. It's sponsored by the Manufacturing Institute, and it's actually a nationwide program to help bring attention to jobs in manufacturing.
Yes, my name is Glenn Johnson. I'm the head of workforce development for BASF North America. I've been within the manufacturing industry for over 20 years. Began as an operator and have a lot of experience with different facets of manufacturing, including operations, maintenance, and so forth, and currently focus on workforce development.
Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. You will get this slideshow. It'll be available on the CTAT website. It has my email address on it. So if you have some questions after we watch this or after the question and answer time, then feel free to email me about those questions. So our subject today is the CTE talent pipeline, why the petrochemical industry is still a strong career choice. We typically represent those companies along the Houston Ship Channel. It is the largest petrochemical complex in the world, but there are definitely petrochemical complexes all across America, all across the world. So these jobs are relevant to many, many people. Part of those jobs involve the logistics. How are the raw materials brought in? How is the product taken out? And so living on the Houston Ship Channel, one of the busiest ship channels in the world, there are transportation careers as well as logistics, careers in construction as they continue to build on and even repair some of the facilities. We typically target students, parents, teachers, administrators, counselors from middle school through the community college area. And I'm available to come and speak with classes in our Gulf Coast area. Possibly could make a Zoom presentation if you live outside of our area. We concentrate on the careers in petrochemical, maritime, logistics, transportation, and construction. So that's mainly what we'll be talking about here. I will be telling you about a website that has hundreds of jobs on it. So there'll be jobs in many different areas of these careers. So I want to look first at the products that are made from the petrochemical industry that were available during our COVID-19 response that we're going through right now. So you may think of the petrochemical industries as that's where they make gas, that's where there's oil, that's where they have diesel, and those are certainly things that are made in the refineries, but most of them are chemical plants, and some of the chemicals that they make help provide materials that go in to make other things that were used in the medical industry, such as this low-density polyethylene, some medical items that are used, medical gloves, different kinds of packaging. You've got this linear low-density polyethylene used for disinfectant wipes, again, for some packaging. You can look around this graphic and see different things that are made, this high-purity hydrocarbons and solvents for pharmaceuticals. Just the things that we're needing right now. Many of these companies stopped what they were producing and started producing what was needed for this particular pandemic. Some of those are, they were requested to help do this by the Texas Department of Emergency Management. So even though what I'm going to show you here are things that companies did for Texas, they were doing this all across America. So most of these companies are worldwide companies, and they were helping out in all the different places where they're located. You can see face masks. ExxonMobil and Braskem had some input on that. Different medical garments such as surgical gowns, again, ExxonMobil, Tyvek coveralls, DuPont. And again, you'll have these slides, so I'm not going to read everything on there for you. The different kinds of medical gloves, face shields, the plastic sheeting, Lubrizol and Nike, Eastman Chemical, Koch Industries, and Dow. There was a great need for hand sanitizer, so many companies, again, stopped and regrouped and were able to produce massive amounts of hand sanitizer that were being needed now that weren't before. So you had Dow, Huntsman, ExxonMobil, LyondellBasell, BASF, Arkema, Chevron Phillips, and Texas Brine also working to get these hand sanitizers out as quickly as possible. Besides all of that, the financial assistance was over $10 million donated for the global response from these companies. So they were also making that kind of a donation at this time. So some of the careers, these are the most high demand, high wage careers. The website I'm going to show you has these careers on it, but they have hundreds of other careers as well. But these are the ones that require a 2-year degree or technical certifications. Some of those NCCER certifications that you're getting could help you get an entry-level job. These jobs require a little bit more than that. But for example, a process operator is going to be a process technology degree. It's a 2-year degree. You could start that while you're in high school. I have known students that were able to graduate high school with an associate's degree and ready for these jobs already. I was a CTE teacher for 34 years, so I had many students that came through and were able, if they weren't able to get the complete degree, had many dual credit classes that could help apply for these. So process operators are in operations. They work shift work. That means some days, some nights, some weekends. But all the jobs at the plant are not shift work. Some of them are. Instrument techs, most of the ones I've talked to are on a 4-day-a-week, 10-hour days, and end up with a 3-day weekend. Most of the time, there will be times when all of these jobs are required to work extra when there's a shutdown or turnaround, they call them different things, when they need all hands on deck and you're gonna come to work every day, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, and all until that's finished. My son is a millwright. That's also a 4-day-a-week, 10-hour-a-day job. Millwrights are mechanical people. He was hired to do the maintenance on compressors. He is now the planner of the maintenance on those compressors. So there's ways, and this website will show you where you can start at an entry-level job and then work your way up to whatever you want to be. Maybe that's the plant manager at some point. And it'll give you a career path that you could go through to do that. So this is, again, a list of those jobs that are the most high demand, the most high wage jobs. When I talk about high wage, this is what I mean. This is an article from the Houston Chronicle about 1.5 years ago. The journalist was interviewing some process operators from Chevron Phillips in Baytown. And this is just a little bit of the article that he wrote about, that they have a fraction of the college debt, but more than double the starting salary of the average journalist. The average plant operator with a 2-year degree starts out with an $80,000 salary. And that's at Chevron Phillips. You could work for a smaller plant and get paid less, a little bit less, maybe $70,000 starting salary. You could go to work somewhere else and maybe make a little bit more. All of them are going to have overtime involved, so you're going to be making more than that particular salary at some point. This is a career comparison chart that lists several different careers. I will point out that the teachers in the group, you're the green line. It would be that line here at the bottom. One of the things that I tell students when I go and talk with them, when I'm talking about that article, is the starting salary at Chevron Phillips for an operator with a 2-year degree is $80,000. I was a teacher for 34 years and have a master's degree, and that was my ending pay. And that was my ending pay because I worked summer school and extra other things along the way. So teachers be down here. Process operators are this maroon line. Chemical engineers are the blue line, the darker blue line, starting out below a process operator until you hit the 10-year mark. And then they start to make more at that point. So just something to look at. I only show this really to the students when I'm talking about, don't let it hold you back that your 2-year degree is not as good as someone else's 4-year degree. You can certainly still make a very good living at some of these jobs, sometimes more than people with a higher degree, which is indicated by that green line again. I'm skipping over a couple of these slides. Again, they're going to be available to you. Excuse me. This is a virtual tour. That's a 4-minute video that is available for you to watch. This is a video about a process operator from Chevron Phillips in Baytown. This is an instrument tech from INEOS in the Deer Park area. Again, this one's about 5 minutes. The other one's about 2 minutes. You'll have access to that. I want to talk about some other things that you would need to know for your students. If you want a job in the petrochemical industry, and that could actually be in the construction industry, that might go into a petrochemical plant. Could be anybody in transportation or in logistics. They've got to pass a drug test. And the drug test is most probably on the hiring end, when you get hired, going to be a hair follicle test, which is going to test back a year. They are very adamant that you be drug-free. It doesn't matter that drugs may be legal in other states. They're not legal to take by the federal government, and the industry, if anything, has gotten a little stricter on that. So you will then have random drug tests throughout your employment. That's a very big part. And as I talk to different HR people, they'll tell me they may have 50 people apply for a job and immediately 25 are no longer on the list because they cannot pass a drug test. So that is
a good thing to point out at this part here is that it's not necessarily about whether the drug is illegal or not. It's about whether you're impaired. Alcohol, for example, is legal everywhere. But if you fail a drug test because you have a sufficient amount of alcohol in your system to be impaired, you can fail a drug test for that. The thing with a lot of these drugs is there's no way to tell the quantity at which you're impaired. So if you show positive, which means you fail it.
Okay. And I don't know, Glenn, would they get a warning at that point, or would they immediately lose their job?
That's different from industry partner to industry partner. There wouldn't be a uniform answer for that, but in my experience, a high percentage would be an immediate termination.
Okay. There's also a background check that they will have to pass. They're looking for felonies, and they're not going to hire you if that's the case. That's just one of the requirements for that. You need good communication skills. That would be speaking, writing, listening, show up every day on time. I know as a classroom teacher, when I would check with students and they would be tardy, they go, yeah, but I was just down the hall, or it was only 1 minute. And so I try to talk about that if I'm in a classroom. It's very important that they show up every day and they're on time. Working as a team, they're being willing to learn, focus on safety, and that ought to be the first thing on the list, because safety is huge at the plant. There are special protective equipment they need to wear. You've probably heard a lot about that in the news over the past couple of months. PPE, personal protective equipment, because that's also needed in the medical industry. But that's part of their everyday life, that they're supposed to wear safety glasses in certain areas, earplugs, fire retardant clothing, hard hats, steel-toed shoes, depending on where they're working and what's required. Okay, that would be something that they would have to have. Besides that, there are certain procedures, and if you don't follow those procedures, and every plant's going to have different ones. My son works for Exxon, and he'll tell me that's not the Exxon way. If I'm going to do something, that safety is very important. It saves people's lives, saves your eyesight, it saves your fingers. You want to be very careful. So safety is a very important part of that as well. Another thing that's sometimes needed is a TWIC card that does a background check on people. If you work for a particular plant, they will have done that for you. If you work for a contractor that goes in and out of different plants, then a TWIC card is good to have. They will help you pay for it. They may even pay for it themselves. But if you need a job that day and you already have one, then that's going to put you higher on the list than other people. So I know I've talked to a lot of schools that part of a grant program they've done, if a student passes certain NCCER certifications or a certain program, then part of that is that they will get their TWIC card. So besides those hard skills that you need to know what the craft is that you're wanting to do. It's your essential skills. We used to call those soft skills. So depending on what they're deciding to call it now, it could be people skills, but you've got to be able to work with other people. And if you can't, then they don't want you there either. So I also try to emphasize that with students when I talk to them. You could be the very best welder and have a certification that says that, and you won some great award, but you can't work with other people, then they don't want you at their company. So it's important that you have that ability to do that, that you can take some criticism, that you can learn from that, that you can communicate with other people.
The key is that nothing important gets done alone. And the ability to work within teams is probably the highest essential skill or soft skill that would be looked at whenever you are hiring and whenever your performance is being evaluated. So being able to work with people and within teams is of the utmost importance.
So the last thing I'm going to do is go through a website with you. This is a handout. You will also have access to this handout. It shows you the website on here, this petrochemworkscom. When we get to the website, there will be this Match Me button on it, and it'll take you through 3 steps. And so we're going to go through those steps and look at what your students might can do to kind of explore different careers. Those in high demand that I showed you are on this website, but hundreds of other jobs are on that website as well. So again, there will be a contact information for me on this show that you'll have access to. So we're going to go to this website. All right, so this is the website that comes up again, petrochemworks.com. It was put together by many different companies along the Houston Ship Channel. So they worked in collaboration with one another. They all need the same kinds of employees. So it's not just one company going out searching for this. They are working as a group because they all need the same kind of employees and hoping to help students find a career in their industry. So again, as you scroll down, you'll see that Match Me button I told you about. I'm gonna go ahead and click on it. It brings you up to the 3 different screens. There's one on My Skills, My Interest, and My Education. Okay, there's the list. You just go through the list, the student would, and read through and see what they might be interested in. So, and that may be that something you would need to discuss with them. What is analytical thinking? What does collaboration mean? Again, what Glenn was saying about working with a team. I'm going to answer this like I might have been my son. We're interested in doing mechanical type stuff, team player, monitor processes. He likes to maintain equipment. Depends on what, everybody's going to have different stuff. If you have some chemistry knowledge, I know he took some classes that did that. Health and safety practices, which is what everybody needs. Precise hand and eye coordination, strong communication skills, reading over. Maybe somebody checks all of them because they're good at all of them, but find out what it is that are their skills. Say next. It brings you to the second screen. The second screen is your interest. And these have sliders. So if having independence is really important, then you would move it over to the high. If having independence is not, then you could move it back that way. If it doesn't matter to you one way or the other, you just leave it where it is, okay? So maybe you don't mind teaching somebody, but that's not your goal. So maybe you'll leave that where it is. You want to learn and grow, or maybe you don't. Physical activity was important for my son. He said he did not want to work inside. Caring for the environment. You know, maybe you want to carry the torch for that and you're really high, or maybe, you know, you just, I care for the environment, and you move that a little bit. Quiet workplace, doesn't matter one way or the other. Avoiding stress, you know, that's managing people. Maybe that's not, maybe you don't want to do that, you'd move it back, or maybe that's my goal, I'd like to be a manager at some point. Improving processes, you're always looking to improve some things. Working with data, writing reports, managing. Again, choose whatever works for you. Say next. And this is where it comes to the education part. We talked about those most high demand jobs requiring an associate's degree or a certificate, possibly an industry recognized certificate. So I would think for any of those jobs, depends on where you want to be here. You'll notice it goes all the way up to master's degree. So there's definitely going to be engineering jobs and supervisory jobs listed on this website as well. It could be that you have some students that, let's just get me out of here and I need a job. And they would be over here on this high school part. I'm going to click on associate's degree because that's what we had discussed. I'm going to click next and see what it matches me with. Okay. It says technical service manager. Probably couldn't be a manager straight out of a 2-year degree, but it could be that I said some things that looked like being a manager would be in my future somewhere. Same thing with supervisor and manager here. So I'm going to click on this one, occupational health and safety hygiene technician. And click on this one. Each one of these jobs will come up. There will be a whole section that tells you about that job. What is that kind of a person anyway? What kind of skills do they need? What would their responsibilities be at work? If you're in the Gulf Coast region, it'll tell you nearby providers for education. So I'm in the Houston area. It's telling me Houston Community College, Rice University, University of Houston. It tells me some nearby employers for that particular job. And down here, it will give you a career path. So this is an entry-level job, and it will tell you how you can get to a mid-level job, okay? And to move on to something higher than that, then they would be able to show you some other things. Like you could look at all the jobs, and here's a senior level job for those. Other popular jobs, and tell you how you could move on to some of those. So different things you can click on where it could give you some more information about that particular career. If you've discussed some things and some student wants to go straight to a career cluster, like I talked about my son being a millwright, which is a mechanical person, that's under maintenance. You could go straight to maintenance and see what other jobs underneath that part. If you thought you were more interested in the health safety environment, go look and see what other jobs are available there. Research and development. So you could also go straight to a job other than with the Match Me tool. Okay. So that's where I'm going to stop and let Glenn take over from here and tell you some more things about what he does.
Okay, so really just to add on to what Patti has delivered to you guys already, I want to talk about the possibility of amplifying this type of information. The presentation that Patti just gave you, she gives pretty regularly in different places, often face-to-face. We do have recorded versions of that as well. But you can also deliver this type of information. And this is a program that we call the Champions Program. And increasing the number of people that have access to this delivery so that they can talk to students or retooling adults about these job opportunities increases the number of people that get to see it. And what this really gets at is it's the quantity side of the equation within workforce development. Within workforce development, we worry about the number of people that are going into a particular job path, and then also the quality of their education. We won't get into the quality side of the equation today, but that quantity piece is what we're talking about. And creating more champions creates synergy in this type of effort. So I want to talk about that for just a second and how you can, and then why it's so important. I think Patti touched on this a little bit, but I'm sure many of you have seen in the news over and over for the last couple of years at least, if not longer than that, the different things that are going on, talking about what we often refer to as the skills gap. And the skills gap is clearly a part of manufacturing, because there are lots of high pay, high skill jobs that we are projecting may possibly go unfilled in the United States because of the shortage of people that have these skills. And no matter which state you're in, Texas is definitely one of them that has noticed this as being a problem. No matter which state you're in, this problem has shown to be very prevalent. So these are some of the articles you may have seen or not have seen over the last couple of years, but this has been going on for a while. It is getting worse as we speak, even in the face of the current situation, an economic dip that has occurred. It's not really occurred for manufacturing, because manufacturing is an essential industry. One of the things that you want to be sure that you can convey to people that may or may not be becoming interested in these types of jobs is that, as an example, during this COVID outbreak, there were lots of jobs that were not essential. If you were in the restaurant industry or other industries that were not essential, your job was in jeopardy. The likelihood of you being laid off or potentially your organization even closing was much higher if you were not an essential industry. Manufacturing is an essential industry. So the job stability is even higher in such a situation. So it's another selling point for this type of work, in addition to the high skill and high pay that goes along with it. So it's just some facts about manufacturing and the workforce development situation that we've been dealing with for the last couple of years. Manufacturing itself grew 714% in the last few years than it had in the previous 8 or 9. So it is on a skyrocket as a result of capital investments and expansions that companies are executing as we speak. And it's kind of a perfect storm. That is happening at the same time that 11,000 Americans turn 70 years old every day. And that began in 2016 and will continue on into the foreseeable future. So this more capacity and more jobs, more high-paying jobs that are needed is being met at the same time there's a mass exodus of skilled workers leaving our industry. So, which is the result of why unemployment has been at historic lows, 50-year lows, all the way through the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. Now, there's obviously a dip that has occurred between February and I believe it's June, where the economic shutdown caused these numbers to change. But we are already seeing a skyrocket return in manufacturing. Well, in industry as a whole. Manufacturing didn't really see this because, again, these roles were essential. The biggest effect in manufacturing was that some roles that were able to work from home did, but very little unemployment resulted in the manufacturing industry. By the beginning of this year, the number of unfilled jobs had outnumbered the number of unemployed workers. And this is the first time in ever Department of Labor recorded history this had occurred. So the time to have high skill and to be seeking for high paying jobs has never been better. And that includes today, because we are projecting a 2.2 million job skills gap over the next few years. And these are jobs that we expect not to even fill at these high paying rates. So conveying the type of information in the current situation, conveying the type of information that Patti delivered and some of what I just said, but within the current situation that we have, and I don't mean just the last couple of months, I mean with the last few years of low unemployment and exodus of skilled workers, is a big need for manufacturing. And that's what this Champions program is. So to deliver messages like that Patti just delivered, we have tools, assets, and things that we can deliver to you for free to assist you to become a champion of this type of work. The presentation that she just delivered, recordings of that presentation, electronic printable flyers to go along with it whenever you have the chance for face-to-face. We have a list of these types of things that are available to you. But you can advocate as a single point of contact for your high schools or your region, and become a network of teachers and counselors that convey this type of information and basically provide a career path for your students or other retooling adults that's probably one of the best that's available to them. So becoming a champion of this program is what we are wanting to see happen so that we can get this message out to more people. So as an example, just in our Dream It, Do It program last year, we did 105 events. And actually, I think these numbers need to be updated. We were closer to 10,000 students that were reached and delivered this information last year alone. And over 1,000 adults were delivered this information as well. And as champions, we're able to amplify the number of people that receive what we call the manufacturing value proposition, which is in a nutshell kind of the type of information that Patti just delivered. So some of the resources that are available to you, as I've already mentioned, is the manufacturing value proposition. This is an electronic document that has talking points for career and technical education awareness events whenever you're going and speaking to students or retooling adults. It has more than just what we talked about today. It has areas that focus on diversity and why manufacturing is a great place for particular demographics. There's also links to videos that are realistic job previews so that people can see some of these jobs in action. And some of these videos are virtual reality. And we have virtual reality headsets that we can send you so that students can experience them the best that they can without actually having a tour in the site location of where those jobs are. As I already mentioned, the printable flyers and the presentation decks and the recordings of those presentations being delivered. There are more things like this that we can help, that we can give you for free to help you become a champion of this program and deliver a message similar to what Patti delivered today. Patti, this is what I have, or this is the end of my part. I guess it's time for some questions and answers.
I think so. So thank y'all for watching the video, and we'll be here to answer your questions.